There is a Solution for That is sponsored by VARC Solutions. VARC Solutions helps small businesses succeed by delivering expert QuickBooks bookkeeping, consulting, quick-base development, and integrated solutions. If you own a small to medium-sized business that uses QuickBooks or QuickBase, the experts at VARC Solutions can help. In business since 1999, with people who care and the knowledge and experience to solve your toughest problems. Visit VARCsolutions.com for all your QuickBooks needs. Welcome back to another edition of There's a Solution for That, where we help small businesses succeed by discussing challenging business problems and best-in-class solutions. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of There's a Solution for That. Welcome, I'm your host, Brad White, and we've got a great guest on our show today, Ken Rapp, who is the owner and CEO of Blustream Corporation. And we're excited to have him come and talk about something we really haven't talked about too much before, I don't believe, which is the post-purchase retention of direct-to-consumer products and also subscription businesses. So very unique topic, and glad to have you on the show, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Well, so one of the things I like to do before we dive deep into a topic is to kind of define terms so that everybody kind of knows what we're talking about. So when you say D2C or direct to consumer, what are those types of products, or what are those types of services that you're typically talking about that we're trying to improve the post-purchase retention of for the clients?
Yeah, predominantly we've cut our teeth and grown around physical goods. So consumer products, whether it's wellness products or skincare or longevity for pets or people. And, I think of it this way, it's the kind of product that you buy online and maybe get it delivered to your door. And then we all have a box on the door and we bring it inside. And then at some point, we're going to unbox that product. And then we're going to start using that product. And that's really where we take over, is sort of the physical good. A box on the doorstep is our image. And then from doorstep to delight is what what we help clients or brands do around their products.
Okay, fantastic. Well, obviously, visions in my head are, the Amazon box coming in, and that happens pretty much on a daily basis at my house. I know just as an example, I ordered some Warby Parker, glasses that are supposed to be arriving today, and I'm excited about that. And, I think we've all had that experience of opening that thing that we bought online. So tell us a little bit more about that, like in terms of the types of work that you do, because the problem that you're solving is, I guess, a bad experience, a bad customer experience.
It's the unknown churn. It's the why don't some of your consumers buy again? And today we can do surveys, or we can do focus groups, and we learn, but there's some real data to be had if you could actually imagine that you were with that consumer in during the shipping. Even, like, is there a prerequisite? You need batteries, or maybe I need some almond butter for whatever I'm going to cook. All the way through, I made those smoothies because I'm trying to lose weight and get healthy and run a 10K in March. Though that kind of interaction is what we've all done when we're buying things at a store and have a personal relationship, and we get to know the owner or the proprietor, and they can coach us through how to get the most out of their products. But once those companies start scaling, or as consumers we buy products online, we've all made investments in our websites and in our e-commerce stores, and then tracking products shipped to the door. We also have made a lot of investments in customer support, so that we can, if there's a problem and someone calls, we have a great way of never losing though. I remember, I'm only 35 in here, but I remember having a receptionist who got the call, and then I had to, call in to get that. With beautiful systems take care of all that now. You don't drop the ball. But then there's this white space in between, from, we call it product ownership. When the consumer, us as consumers, we get that product, it shows up on the door, and now it's all about really understanding and loving that product. And then from there, how am I going to use it? And it's the first 30 days we call activation, the next 30 days we call engagement. And the engagement is all about product usage. And based on our data, and doing this for over a decade now, we literally have data that you can see why people might churn or not come back. What's causing them that frustration? And we're happy to share this data with the world. We're launching something this quarter that you'll see, where you can ask us, with an automation and AI powered agent, that would allow you to see for my product and my brand, what are some of the reasons why, even confirming why I think they don't buy a second time, but then seeing a summary of that. And then ultimately it's the remediation. So our best practices, in a matter of under 5 minutes, you'll have a journey to help your consumer unbox, and then use your product. So activate and then engage. That is powered by the best practice of all this data we have around
Yep.
why people stop buying. And it drives repeat sales. It drives 30% higher retention, the majority of the time. And what's most important, and then I'll stop, is that when we measure the end consumer on behalf of all of our brand clients, their end consumer retention rate on our platform, and it's over 90%. So when we start someone on a journey coming from, my smoothie company, and I'm now like a customer, and it's bringing me value and educational knowledge, all stuff that's on the smoothie company's website already. So we're just creating a live connection and informing that consumer
Hmm.
along a timeline and a schedule that is valuable to them when they really want to consume it. And it creates incredible stickiness and connectivity.
Okay, so this is a fascinating topic, and obviously there's just a ton of stuff that we could get into. Um, I guess like when I think about what you're talking about, I'm thinking, okay, I just bought this product, and for whatever reason, I open it up, and it maybe it's not obvious, maybe the instruction manual isn't clear, whatever the thing is, and then it just gets put to the side. I never end up using it. I never end up activating. I never end up engaging with whatever that thing is. Um, that would be obviously one problem to solve, and or a multitude of problems related to that would be something to solve. Whereas if you've got like a food product, like you order some sort of protein powder online, and you try it the first time, and you're like, oh, I thought this was supposed to be banana nut, but it doesn't taste like banana nut. I mean, I can imagine there's just a whole lot of angles to that experience. So, and I imagine you help all those different scenarios. But what are some of the common themes that you've seen with maybe the bad experience, where it's just a matter of tweaking this, and this, and suddenly you've got this much, much, much better outcome?
Yeah, yeah. So it's all about, if you think about it, the super consumers. So we have a bunch of data on products and the super consumer behavior, because they're clicking on materials and links back to your website and information that they want. They're answering questions, that we can then amplify to all the rest of the consumers. So let's go. I love your question. Let's go to like unboxing a supplement like protein powder. And I figure I'm going to start that up, and within a week I'm going to be Hulk. But that's not reality. So it's actually going to take months and months of nurturing. Um, and so if I got that, and whether it tasted like banana nut or it didn't, that's one area that, like, okay, it doesn't taste right. Is that normal? Like as a consumer, you say to yourself, maybe this is what it's supposed to taste like, but maybe there's a simple trick. Put a little scoop of peanut butter in there, and it's going to taste great. Um, we see that all the time. And so the first 30 days, it's that nurture process and checking in. So, as consumers, we buy things, and then before we might have unboxed it yet, you might get a coupon, or hey, will you leave us a review? Now, uh, our approach is actually the data we have says you should you shouldn't do that. You should start from nurture for the first 15 days around education about why they made a good decision. You're smart. You made a good decision to buy our protein powder because we provide a very pure, natural ingredients protein, and so good for you. And then another message about the product itself. It's there's we have a 5-to-1 rule where the first 5 interactions are all trust building around the product and the brand. It's the sixth question where we say, or the sixth message where we say, hey, how's and again, these are all automated in the templates and best practices. We say, how you doing, Brad? On a scale of 1 to 5, are we meeting your expectations or are we not? And anybody below a 3, we instantly move to a remediation. And what's amazing is that over 93% of one of our large clients, 93% of their consumers who were 3 or under engaged in the next steps, the next messaging. They
Mm,
want to be successful, but it's very, if you don't know why they're not being successful and you're not with them at that moment, you lose them. So you then take
yeah.
those 93%, put them in the remediation, and they make it through to what we measure at 30 days as a review. And that's when you ask for a review after you know that they're happy,
Yeah.
and then a referral. So the activation of a customer should result in a great review and telling a friend. Like
Yeah.
like that's what it's all about. Now, I'll keep going for a moment. If you then continue down what we call that engagement for the next 60 days, so a total of 90 days is the window that creates stickiness for repeat buyers. You now you start to nurture around, are you going to run a 10K? And or tell us why you bought this protein powder in the first place. And here's some things that some of our other customers do. And you know, oh, okay, you're going to run a 10K. Have you started an exercise program? How are you using the powder? Is it once a day? Is it twice a day? Are you
Hmm.
only on weekends? And then you start, and all this content from the protein powder company is available. It's just not being delivered at those for those next 60 days. And it's not every day you get a message. It's
Right.
once every few days or a week. And the cadence and the content are what we've got all that data on for where people want the interaction. And
Okay.
that's what creates, it literally drives revenue, repeat or cross upsell or repeat sales and retained consumers on a subscription basis. Very measurable.
Well, and there's so many questions so many questions I have. To me, it sounds like the root sort of value driving this is a care and concern about your client getting the most out of this product that they're buying, right? It's like, I mean, it's like, okay, if somebody buys a cell phone, okay, I don't know if that's a good example or a bad example, but if somebody doesn't know how to use it or doesn't use it well or doesn't know how to maximize, using all the apps, right, they're not going to be as happy. And so if I truly care about them getting the most value out of this phone, I'm going to educate them. I'm going to share the words of wisdom. I'm going to share oh, did you know? Right? All those types of things. Right. So that's just kind of what goes through my mind. And so whether it's a healthcare product or a financial service subscription, some sort of software service subscription, um, to me, it all comes down to caring about the client's experience and wanting them to be successful, right? I don't want them to just buy protein powder and have it sit on the shelf, right? I want them to use it. I want them to get the result. So how do you, so like we talked about, like gauging or measuring sort of like their happiness, the experience. Is this text messages? Is this email? Is it phone calls? What's the interaction type of experience that you have to get that type of feedback?
Great question. Text messaging is top of the list for our clients because it's got such high engagement. We all look at our phones. If we get a text message, we look at it.
Yeah.
Um, but our technology uses text messaging, email, internet messaging like iMessage. If you can't use for some of the applications in the wellness space, particularly in CBD or some of those kinds of products, you can't use phone texting. So there's
Interesting.
internet messaging, and then in Europe it's WhatsApp. That's where
Right.
people use. But
Okay.
what's great about what you said is it really comes down to the brand wants their consumer to be successful. And what we found is the cost of consumer acquisition is only a part of it, because you acquire the consumer. We all spend money to acquire customers, and then after the acquisition, we ring the bell. Woohoo! We have this many customers, but then there's still cost that's leaking out of the rest of that, and
Right.
most of our clients know that they track some stats. So 50% plus of consumers are gone after 90 days in the subscription industry.
Interesting.
So that's a lot. I mean, imagine that you got to replenish 50% just to come back to break even. And even
Yeah.
worse is the coupon leakage. Like, we all use a coupon to incentivize, which means we're not making a lot of margin on that first product. And so 90 days later, I've spent all this money. I did get top line growth, but my margins are eroded. So there's actually a pretty significant leakage going on. But there was no alternative. The alternative prior to automated messaging, which is what we do on what we call product experience journeys,
Mm.
the alternative was to call your customer live and or have them come to the store for events. And you got to do all those things still, but with our technology, you see this dashboard of data happening, and you can see, oh, look at this cohort didn't respond. They didn't click on that link. And we know that the ones that did actually bought a second time within 60 days. And so let's go back and promote something to them and tie back to our CRM or our front end system, our marketing systems to do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so maybe kind of give us some examples of how you've maybe take a customer that you worked with that maybe had a problem or maybe not a great experience where you were able to help them, and maybe what was kind of like the end result of that.
Yeah, how about a couple? Can I give you a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah, sure.
examples? Okay, so I'll tell you, I'm a crazy guitarist. I love playing guitar, and I got this new guitar 10 years ago. I got this new guitar that I'd never had that brand, a household brand, beautiful brand, but very susceptible to dryness. And I'm here in the New England area, and it gets cold and dry right about now, and the guitar body cracked,
Oh, wow.
and I was devastated. This was like, it sounds so beautiful, um, but it was in distress and never told me. And I was talking with some other friends who had the same issue, and we said, why wouldn't the manufacturer and or the place where I bought it want to have a connection to me around product ownership? And
Right.
that was really what started the whole thing. So a real life example, and I actually have that guitar hung on my wall in my studio.
Nice.
She still plays, and I still love her, but the strings are loosened, and she's not one of my active guitars, and it's sitting there with the cracks are still in it. It stays together, but the cracks are in it. Then
Interesting.
you turn to on the complete other side in the pet industry. We have a client who um, has a product that has some amount of expectation setting that you need before you give it to your pet. And they were struggling with reviews. They were getting some reviews that were like, this doesn't do what I thought it was going to do, and this was not what I thought it was going to be. And so you see these occasional reviews that are not very good, and
Yeah.
we just crush that. We just you know dogs are different if you have a Chihuahua versus a Saint Bernard, and
Right.
German Shepherds have hip dysplasia issues. And so just by being able to ask the consumer what kind of dog you have, automatically, like in our system, those are called attributes. So German Shepherd versus Chihuahua
Right.
will adjust the personalization of that journey, those interactions and messaging to that
Hmm.
consumer, or pet parent is what they call them.
Yep.
And so I remember, I'll never forget this. One of our customers, clients, said to me when when she first started the business, and it's for probiotic for dogs' tummies to help them digest food.
Right.
She first started the business, and she knew every pet parent's name and every pet's name. She knew every dog's name. And now she's in Whole Foods and PetSmart, and she doesn't know every parent's name. And so
Right.
we power an interaction between her brand, like you said, and her caring that she wants from her brand directly to her consumers all automatically. And she can see the data and see how things are going. And our technology will identify places where there's not as much engagement with a certain link as there is with another link, and then we can talk about that. So hopefully that's three examples
Yeah.
actually.
No,
My
that
guitar, um, the, the the expectation setting, and then the pet one.
no, this is fascinating, and I just imagine this is something that can apply to a lot of different industries. I mean, you talked about health, wellness, even pet types of product. But like, just to expand our thinking in terms of like who might be out here listening to this topic, what are some other industries that? Well, first off, I mean, just to be super clear, like what are some of the best industries that you guys serve, and then of course maybe what are some of the industries that might not be quite as intuitive, like oh, obvious that your system can still be applied to that could be very, very helpful.
It's a great question, and we're very clear on this. So first of all, if a brand or business relies on repeat customers. There's like revenue there with cross-sell, upsell, or repeat sales.
Mm-hmm.
Then that checks the first box. There's three boxes. The second box is that the brand knows their churn rate and it's greater than 10%. If you're losing more, um, if you're not retaining 90% of your consumers to come back and buy again,
Mm-hmm.
and we could move that depending on the product and its annualized sales could be very, very valuable for small percentage movements. And we see a 30% improvement in that every time.
Wow.
And then, but the third one is really at the heart of your question, is that if the product needs guidance, if I bought a bottle of water, a case of water from BJ's, I got home, I don't want anybody bugging me about my case of water.
Yeah.
But if I did buy some smoothies, and I've never had a smoothie before, or I bought a guitar, and I'm a very experienced guitarist playing out in rock bands and still do, but I never had that brand. So beginners of products that need a little guidance, wellness, beauty, people, pets. But I'll share with you, Brad. Yesterday I had a call and someone said, "Wait a minute, we're working with a client that they do floor cleaning and for homes, and
Mhm.
they don't think their consumers are actually using the product right. They mix, not a cap full. They just pour the bottle in and maybe sometimes put it on the floor and see if and then they're not having a good experience, and therefore
Right.
you churn out the next sale, which would be the recurring revenue if they did it right. And what's beautiful is most brands don't want their consumers to have a bad experience,
Right.
and they would rather hear if there's an issue earlier than find out through their pocketbooks that they're not buying again. And so that's really any product that is repeating revenue, there's some churn, and the product could use a little guidance that, you'd like to
Yeah.
chat with somebody. We create the chat connectivity for the brand.
Okay. Again, I love this stuff. This is fascinating to me. The the guidance part just sort of struck me as you were talking about it. So like in any product that requires learning how to use it, optimizing how to use it, learning from best practices that other people have experienced with, and are we might just immediately just go to YouTube and like try to figure it out on our own. And that could be before the purchase, it could be after the purchase, who knows? But you're basically talking about being proactive so that, I mean, spoon feeding and being proactive about how to get the most out of this thing so that you're happy. And yeah, you refer, you recommend, and you buy some more. I love that. I mean, to me, it's like every business, even if you don't have a product based business, even if you have a service based business or anything else, you should probably be thinking about, okay, what happens after my customer buys this thing or subscribes or we whatever deliver a service? What is that experience like? what do they like, what do they don't like, and being able to get that types of feedback, but in a feedback loop where you can continue to improve that process and make it better and better and better. Seems to be, I mean, this could really apply to a lot of different types of business, but obviously more focused on the product-based experience and that type of thing. One question I have, just to maybe again to kind of define terms a little bit, is churn rate. Like, how do you define churn rate? Is it relative to a specific industry or business, or is there a standard way of measuring churn that like if I was trying to figure it out for my own business, like how would I figure that out?
Yeah, take your next 100 customers and look over the next 90 to 180 days and measure how many actually come back and buy something.
Okay. So
And the
like,
churn rate is the difference between those who buy and those who don't. And if you track it monthly, you'll watch the curve come down. It's very similar to the repeat buying curve, which is worse. The 50% is in the subscription economy, because most of us know if we're going to sign up for a subscription, we're probably going to keep going for a while.
mm-hmm.
But in the second, third purchase arena, just buying another purchase,
Yeah.
it's actually more like 70% don't buy another purchase.
Okay.
Uh, I have a great example too I want to share with you
Yeah, yeah.
based on your last point. Being a musician, I'm really delighted that there are tens of thousands of uh, little musical souls, kids in school band and orchestra, and the typical churn rates of 50%, 60% means that after a semester and then a full year of your first time ever playing a trumpet or trying a clarinet or something, they're gone, and the kids churn out. And we our first beachhead market segment was musical instruments, and continues to be very strong there. And we've just been able to help these small businesses and some larger ones just retain more of those repeat users or players into the
Yeah.
next year. And imagine that. So if it, I'm going to use some broad-based numbers for an example because it was part of your other question. There is, let's say it's $500, $50 a month for 10 months of a rental. So it's a service. It's not a product, but you use a product to make a service.
Right.
So that's $500 annual sale. And if you have 1,000 of those, you're talking about a $500,000 revenue business.
Right.
Not bad. And you lose half of those kids after the first year. So your $500,000, after the first semester it goes down, but by the end of the year it's down to 250,000.
Right.
Real revenue, like real dollars coming into your company. You've already spent time and money and resources promoting and getting those, and now you've got to make that back up just to stay flat or even with where you
Right.
were. And that's what we really address. We address that delta between what should be, your now there's always going to be plus or minus some percentages of kids who it's just not the right thing for them. But
Yeah.
we have found an incredible uplift in the number of uh, young people who are staying in music as a result of this nurturing. And we message to the parent. So if the messages come from Blustream powers the messaging from the brand or the dealer, they're called, who is providing the rental, and to the parent. And it's great. It's just been great.
No, I think it's awesome. And so like I just, you mentioned guitar. So like I imagine there's certain, so again, just some industries where this may be a little bit less compelling, right? Okay, I buy a guitar. I probably don't need another guitar. I mean, if like I'm buying one, okay, I don't need another guitar next month. I don't might not even need one next year. I might need one in 5 years, you know. So I imagine some industries that churn rate would be based on, well, how long is this product supposed to last, or what's the typical lifetime of XYZ product? Now, of course, you might have upgrades, right? I might buy the intro and then I want to get the medium and the advanced model, whatever. But it sounds to me like the bigger opportunity for folks that are listening are, you've got a product or service, a subscription maybe, that there is a pretty good cadence, or an expectation of a pretty good cadence of buying it again, buying it again, buying it again, or continuing to subscribe over a long period of time. Would that be an accurate way of saying that?
Yeah, there's two cases. The case you just described, the latter case you described, is as our CRO says, the center of the bullseye. Like that is the double bullseye. If you've got a business where you're selling something and want to rely on repeat recurring revenue for the same product line, we're a killer app to help companies there. If you're the guitar case, you're absolutely right. It's more of lifetime value because what you see is I might spend $1,000 on a guitar. I'm not going to buy another guitar especially if I'm a beginner for 3 years. And most of the brands know. They know exactly at 38 months. That's when that kind of buyer buys. It's amazing the data that companies already have out there. But what that guitar represents walking out the door, depending on how often do you play. Do you play an hour a week? Do you play 4 hours a week? You need strings. You need polish. You
Right.
probably, if you're a beginner, would you like to come back to the store and get lessons? And if you are getting lessons and you are playing now up to 4 hours a week, did you know that you could buy an amplifier and a microphone and you could start singing and playing through an amplifier? And the next thing you know, there's pedals. And so it becomes a lifetime value
Right.
horizontal cross sell versus your point of a recurring repeat sale. Both cases are great. What's not great is, I bought something that needs a physical good like coffee cup or very very simple products that don't really need any instruction, or I get it out of the box and um, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do with it. I'm like that. We're not
Yeah.
going to be very helpful there.
Right. Okay. Well, again, I think this is great, and it sounds like you've really cracked the nut on helping businesses do that, and so just kind of as we kind of get to the conclusion of the topic today, I just want to encourage people to take a look at this because I mean, just imagine if whether it's a $500,000 business or a $2 million business or a $20 million business, if you could reduce the churn rate, increase the response rate for buying again, increase the number of referrals that you get because they had a great experience. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? No matter what the cost is, it's probably a no-brainer that they're going to get a lot more ROI on that by investing time in that experience, knowing what is working and what is not working. So I just want to encourage people to get a hold of you and learn more about this because I mean, again, it sounds really awesome to me. So Ken, how do people get a hold of you if they want to take a look at your service and get the help?
So I'd love to make one comment prior to that, and of course, thank you for that. Thank you for your kind words. Um, it's very hard to build a whole new category, and that's been what I've done in my career. And this is a new one that we're just so passionate about helping brands connect to their customers around product experiences. And to your point earlier, what's really cool is you can um, talk to us and our advisors or contact me directly, and we've got um, in 10 minutes we've got some technology that you can put in your company, put in one of your product lines, and we'll provide you with what the churn issues might be. And whether that validates what you think they are, or there's 20, we usually provide about 15 to 20. So there'll be some amount of insights there. And we didn't talk about insights. The data that you have now, imagine 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in, you've got data about how your products are being used in the wild that you never had. And that can drive product development as well. So there's
Yeah.
another whole value. And then finally, the point I wanted to make is our pricing model is geared so we're in it with our clients. We
Mm.
don't get paid if you don't have a connected consumer on the other side of that line. We really want to be in it with you to make sure they're being delighted, you know, as much as possible. And that 90% number I mentioned earlier, where they're on the product experience journeys and our retention rates of our journeys are over 90%. is how we grow. And so you pay, a few shekels, per month to be connected to that customer. The larger the volume, the lower the price. But
Yeah.
it's pennies and dollars. So for example, getting started with us, we've got the Activate package, like $199 a month for your first 500 customers. The Engage package is like $499. So it's and our first month we invest in it anyway. So we want you to try this, just to your point. We want you to, our resources are yours. The way to get in touch with me is blue, no E, as you can see behind me, it's ken@bluestream.io. And I'll provide you with some links and connections to our website. Our resources are yours and your audiences. So whatever we can do to be helpful, please reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. So Ken at Blustream.io, and that's BLUSTREAM with no E. Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Ken. Again, I love what you're doing. I believe in what you're doing, and I think you're not just making an impact for people's pocketbooks and profitability, but I mean, this is the type of thing that can help businesses survive, too. So I really appreciate you coming in and sharing what you're doing, and I really do sincerely hope people reach out.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for those of you that are listening, again, we don't just have people on our show just to have people on our show. We really do really take a keen interest in trying to find people that are solving real problems out there. And I think Ken and Blustream have really done that here. So encourage you to reach out and just get, not kick the tires and see if they can help. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
There is a Solution for That is produced by VARC Solutions. This episode was produced by Ashley White and Aaron Riley. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Watch the video version on youtube.com/TheresaSolutionforThat. Or visit varcsolutions.com/podcast, where you'll find our entire podcast archive, as well as show notes, links to solution providers, and complete transcripts of every episode. If you love the podcast, please leave a review with your comments.